Welcome back to Undefendable. We're going to be doing a quick guide on how to play Miles Morales Spider-Man in Dice Throne like a pro. I'm going to go as quick as I can, so stay tuned. First thing we're going to really want to do is understand his unique status effects, or his status effects in general. The first one, and the most important one that I think makes Spider-Man the most viable for fast, explosive, fun, offensive damage, and someone that you should add to your Bring 3 Ban 1 is Combo. It's a unique status effect, and that means it can be removed, but it cannot be transferred by any means. And ultimately, it's perform another offensive roll. If your offensive roll phase results in an attack, you may spend this token at the conclusion of your opponent's defensive roll phase. If spent, immediately target the same opponent with an additional offensive roll phase. Can only be spent once per turn. Very strong. I'll explain how this ties into his kit in a second. Also, a very strong ability is Webbed. It is a negative status effect, static limit of 1. Same thing with Combo. You can only have 1 at a time. And it next incoming attack is undefendable. So ultimately, you'll play either a card or unlock or do an ability that hits the opponent with Webbed. When it is inflicted on your opponent, they take 2 isolated source of undefendable damage. And then the next time a player afflicted with this token is attacked with normal damage, the damage type becomes undefendable instead, and this token is immediately removed. So really, really cool little poke for 2 damage that they cannot respond to. And then it makes your next attacks undefendable, which is great against stronger defensive characters, or just in general, an undefendable is fantastic. And then one last unique status effect for Spider-Man is invisibility. You can have 1 on your board at a time. Roll defense against an undefendable attack. So if you're attacked with an opponent's undefendable attack, you can actually spend this. If it's on your board, you can spend it to make the attack defendable. So when a player with this token is attacked with an undefendable attack, they may choose to spend this token to activate a defensive ability. This token may not be transferred by any means. One other note is, if you have invisibility during your defensive roll, let's say you go with Spider Sense, you can't use it on Counterpunch. Someone swings at you with defendable, and you roll Spider Sense, let's say you whiff, you can discard your invisibility to take an additional roll attempt. So it can be very, very strong if you're trying to survive or take less damage. He has a 3-2-1 roll dice facing. So 3 of the spider fingers, 2 webs, or I should say thwip. 3 thwips, 2 webs, and 1 spider. So relatively consistent roll phases compared to other heroes. Now, let's get into some juicy stuff. As you're aware of the game, you start with 50 health and 2 CP. And his board is relatively straightforward here. We're going to go over each of these really quickly, and then I'll go over kind of priorities and roll phases and how you should really approach the game against most of your opponents. The number one thing you're going to want to go for, roll 1, offensive roll phase. You want to get the combo. This is your roll 1 phase, because if you hit it, you gain combo at the end. So you deal 5 damage and gain combo. Your opponent does their defensive rolls, and then you say, okay, I'm going to use my combo. And then you go ahead and roll again, and you try to go for other abilities. Now, you can get combo again. So if you got it the first time, you use it, and you get combo again, you deal 5 damage, but you then cannot use this token until your next turn, because you can only use it can only spend once per turn. Okay? So a lot of the rhythm of Spider-Man is you get combo roll 1 at the end of your opponent's defensive phase, you use the combo, and then you try and inflict some sort of a small or large straight. Ensnare is usually your go-to because small straights are a lot easier to get when it comes to percentages and trying to enable an ability. But if you get the large, more power to you. Hell yeah. Ensnare, the small straight, deals 5 damage, then inflicts Webbed. So, deals 5 damage, your opponent rolls their defensive roll, then it inflicts Webbed, which hits them for 2 more damage, and your next attack, when your opponent has Webbed on them, is going to be undefendable. So against opponents with really strong defense, you're going to want to try and have webbed on them as much as possible so they're not getting as much benefit from their defense. Because as you're noticing, almost all of Spider-Man's abilities outside of his mini alt and alt are defendable. So you want to try and smack him with the webbed. You get extra damage from the two undefendable, the two collateral or the two isolated, and then you just kind of loop that throughout the game. You get combo, you hit them, you use combo, you go for a straight. It is really that straightforward when it comes to playing Spider-Man. Now, what if I do a roll phase and I don't get combo, or maybe it's just not in the cards? Your fallback of combo is going to be spider reflexes. And this is roll 2 die and deal damage equal to the total roll value. If your final roll value is 5 or less, gain combo. So if you roll 2, and let's say you roll 2, well, there you go. That's actually a great example. I would only hit my opponent for 2 damage. But since my total value is less than 5, I actually would gain a combo. I would then use combo, and then I would roll again and try and go for a small straight. Now, most of the time, when you're rolling 2 dice, you're going to average, wow, okay, maybe, okay, that's not normal. Going 1-1 and then 6-6 is not normal. But even in that scenario, I just dealt 12 damage to my opponent. But I did not get the combo because the value was not 5 or less, right? Normally, you're going to get like a 4 and a 3 and do 7 damage, and then you're not going to get the combo, and it is what it is. But these roll faces give you a strong fallback if you cannot get the combo roll 1. Another good thing to have, especially against high damage or burst damage, or just in general, you want to try and get wall crawler off relatively soon. Maybe you combo into wall crawler, so then you can have your invisibility just kind of sitting around hanging out, where you can use it to make an undefendable attack. You can roll again to try and prevent it, or you can even use this in ways with cards that you mix into the gist of things to prevent damage as well. Now, one other thing I will mention here is, I just got distracted by that. You gain invisibility, you hit them with the wall crawler, etc., and then you go through that roll phase. So yeah, ultimately, just having invisibility makes you a lot more versatile. It works with your cards pretty well to prevent damage. It unlocks opportunities to potentially prevent half damage if it's defendable, and then it can make undefendable damage defendable, which gives you the opportunity to counterpunch in a pinch or spider sense, and then do all that stuff. I didn't mention it, but punch is relatively weak, but you're attacking normally 2 times per turn, so if he had any higher damage outputs, it would be kind of nuts. So you're actually dealing 11 to 15 damage per turn, typically, because you're doing 5 and then 5, 6, 7, so 12 damage. So your average damage rolls, if you're getting combo, is going to be 11 to 15 damage, and that's why his damage seems small, because you're rolling more. Now, when you roll more, you tend to unlock more abilities or more ultimates. I don't generally search for these, because a lot of the games that you're playing Spider-Man, you're not needing the mini or the ult to pop off to win. But if you're chasing combo and you roll 2 webs or 2 spiders and 3 webs, and maybe your next roll is a 3rd spider and 2 webs, maybe you go for Venom Punch, or maybe you're naturally just going to roll into some of these because a lot of your abilities require you to have 6s in order for them to go off. All right? So that's the general flow of Spider-Man. Combo roll 1 into some sort of a straight to inflict webbed, and then you just keep looping that all back and forth. Your fallback plans roll 1 are going to be spider reflexes, sometimes wall crawler if you're playing against a heavy damage opponent, and then occasionally you're going to roll into some of your ultimates because you're rolling typically twice as often as your opponent, because you get 1 roll here and then another roll after. Let's do a couple of example rolls. So let's say this is roll 1. Okay, great example. So if this is roll 1, I have 3 6s and a 1 and a 5. Now, there's a couple of options. I can throw these back with the 50% chance to get combo because I have, 3 facing die that are thwip. But if I roll into Venom Punch, I roll into Venom Punch. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, there you go. So we just landed a small mini ult on our second roll. We would commit that. We'd gain a visibility and deal 7 undefendable. Not the best first turn, but a pretty good first turn. We're not going to be mad about that. It comes back to us. We're going to try and go back to our game plan, which is combo roll 1. We roll a 6. Let's roll again. We don't roll a 6, which is unfortunate. And this is where it gets a little spicy, right? So our fallback plan is typically this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw all 4 of these back, and there you go. We go ahead and we get the spider sense. So now we would roll 2 dice, and we would inflict 9 damage off of that, but we would not gain combo because it is not 5 or less damage, right? So in theory, we didn't even do combo, but we dealt 7 undefendable and then 9 defendable, and we have some defensive opportunities up with our invisibility. So not a terrible first couple of turns, relatively average damage so far. All right. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Okay, well, depending on my cards and what I see here, I'm going to roll this. All right, I'm not going to get greedy. I got what I wanted. Roll 1. Third turn, roll 1. We got combo. Opponent says, yeah, go for it. Cool. We gain combo. We deal 5 damage, and then we use combo, and we go right back into our next roll phase immediately and attack our opponent again. Now, after that combo turn 1, we're going to try and find a straight unless something else presents itself. And that's a pretty good start. So we got a couple of options here. That is a roll 1 natural wall crawler, which is great. That's 7 damage and gain an invisibility. But if I already have invisibility on me from maybe a Venom Punch or some other form, I got it. I don't really want to do that because it's just 7 damage, and I really want to hit him with the webbed ability because that's what's really going to make Spider-Man start popping off. I have an open-ended straight here. We're going to throw these back. We're not going to get it. Now here I might opt for Wall Crawler because it's a guaranteed 7 damage. It's a second turn. That's going to be 12 damage between the 2 of them. But just for the giggles of it, let's go ahead and throw this back. All right. So we got our small straight. We also have spider reflexes if we wanted to go that route as well, which is really nice with the dice and the way they face, is it really gives you the opportunity. If you get a small straight 3, 4, 5, 6, you're also going to have opportunity to do spider reflex. So then we would go ensnared, which again is not a crazy amount of damage, but it's 7 defendable, and then 2 more with the webbed. Now the last turn, I'm going to do this one more time because now our opponent is infected with web. Okay? So we roll. We get not the sexiest roll here. Because I really want to try and get combo here. So I might actually toss all of this back. Oh, boy. All right. Youch. Well, sometimes that happens. So we would actually announce the punch, which again is not the greatest thing, but it is now 5 undefendable damage because the opponent is inflicted with webbed. So they say, okay, cool, they take 5, webbed goes away, and now we're here. Okay? When it comes to defense, counterpunch is going to be your default. Unless the opponent is hitting for, I believe, 9 or more damage, you want to go with counterpunch. Unless you have cards or things that can manipulate stuff. Counterpunch is your default. Now, maybe they're swinging for 13, you go Spider Sense, right? Spider Sense, let's just do this for giggles. Let's say they go 13 defendable, I go Spider Sense, we're going to roll 2, we get a 6, we prevent half. That's easy, right? So we take 6 instead of 13, which is fantastic because you're going to round down the damage. Now, let's say they do it again. Okay, we prevented it again. We prevented it again. Okay, we didn't prevent it that time, thank goodness. Now we're going to discard our invisibility to re-roll or to roll an additional roll attempt on this Spider Sense. And we didn't get it there, but I just wanted to show you how that interaction would work. All right? That's pretty much how you play Spider-Man. The end of this, I'm going to go through just his basic cards really quickly. So you have an idea of, hey, like, what do I want to upgrade? What do I not want to upgrade? All of his abilities, if you get them, you should upgrade them immediately unless it's like the end of the game and you're going to kill your opponent and you have a bunch of dice mods in your hand, so on and so forth. Reason being is Spider-Man typically attacks twice per his roll phases or per his turn. So this isn't just one additional damage on Ensnare, it's technically could be 2 additional damage, right? If you upgrade Combo and Ensnare, Combo goes from 5 damage to 6, and Ensnare goes from 5 damage to 6. So you just actually added 2 full damage to your completed Combo into Ensnare roll. Combo also gives you the fallback for Web Shot, which you can use if it just absolutely falls to it, but likely you'll have the opportunity to do Spider Sense here, so you won't need to use this. And then again, 7 damage to 8 damage, and then you unlock the potential. This is huge. If you can unlock the potential to combo up, maybe you miss-cook a combo for some reason, you can do this option as well, which is really great. So anytime you get these in your hands, upgrade them immediately. His main phase cards. Booyah is a great early game. It can be a little awkward if you already have invisibility on you. So if you know this is in your hand and you have invisibility, try and use invisibility with the defensive opportunity of Spider Senses. And if you can do that, and then your next main turn, you just roll for Booyah, you play this out for 1 CP, you either hit them with Webbed, which is amazing, you get a combo, or you get invisibility. So really, really great card here. Cha-ching, 0 CP, gain 2 CP, you're going to play it. It's just that simple. Milkshake is pretty mid. Sometimes healing for 3 is really important. Most of the time, it's not. But if you get it, just play it. You don't need to wait to play it unless you're trying to bluff your opponent with twice as wild or dice mods and things like that. Web Shooter is one of Spider-Man's best cards. Inflict web on a chosen opponent, immediately unlocking you with the opportunity to hit them with undefendable, which is fantastic. Just make sure that your opponent doesn't already have webbed on them, because they can only be inflicted with webbed 1 time. This could also win you a game. Let's say you get your opponent down to 2 health and you just didn't quite finish them off. You could play this in your second main phase to hit them for 2 isolated damage, which is great. Roll phase dice. Play only after being attacked, Invisibility Punch. If you successfully prevent damage as a part of your Spider Sense defensive ability, deal 3 damage back. Pretty good, especially if you can have invisibility on you and you can try to make sure Spider Sense gets through. This is a great card. It's somewhat situational, so if you need CP, you could sell it, but again, you could also use it if you have the goods. Mini, I call this like the mini not this time. It's nice try, so not this time. NT, nice try. You discard an invisibility to prevent 3 damage. So this could potentially turn into some really, really good opportunities. Let's say they swing at you for, 13. You do Spider Sense to, or not Spider Sense. Yeah, Spider Sense. You do Spider Reflexes was the other one I was talking about. You do Spider Sense, it goes through, and then you discard your invisibility to prevent an additional 3. You could really turn a big turn of 13 damage into 3 damage that you take, which is great. Swing Escape is really good. Your Spider Sense defensive ability succeeds on web instead of the spider. This card can be played after your dice have been rolled. So if you go ahead with the Spider Sense and you roll 2, it's like, oh, darn, I didn't get it. Well, now you can play Swing Escape, and you just got the ability, which is fantastic. Now you could chain this ability into this ability and hit them back for 3, which is pretty cool. You could chain this ability into this ability into this ability if you have invisibility on you and hit them back for another 6. Likelihood of all of these being in your hand and being that situational, not very high, but just kind of showing you some of the flexibility of his dice rolls, which is kind of nice. Gain instant invisibility, instant speed can be really good. Again, stringing in some of these dice roll stuff, which is great. But the best card in his kit is the Radioactive Blood. It is expensive, but let's say your first roll, you just can't get combo for some reason. You could throw this out for 3 and then immediately gain combo and then do that combo in that phase. So this is by far his best card. Play it when you miss combo or when you don't have combo and you want to add some additional damage to your kit or to your attack. Guys, I really appreciate you watching my first video. I'm going to try and do guides like this as much as I can. Again, Miles Morales plays fast and is explosive, takes multiple offensive role phases, more than any other hero, and relies on combo chaining into straights in order to push out some of his highest damage per roll in the game. The trade-off is that he often triggers defensive twice per turn. So the last thing I'll mention is his matchups. He is very favored against opponents who have weak or average defense. He tends to struggle against strong or punishing defenses like Cursed Pirate, Shadow Thief, Pyromancer taking back a bunch of damage, things like that. So he can struggle into, Paladin is another good example. That's when, in those matchups, you want to make sure you have webbed or inflict webbed as much as possible. And then kind of a niche matchup is Loki, because Loki can just continually string confuddles into covering combo and spider reflexes, which means you're basically never going to combo if he continues to string that. So that can be somewhat of it's a plan against Loki. He can tend to have a somewhat awkward matchup. So again, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to try to come out with more guides. Appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Have a good one.